Hi, my name is Lynette Davis, and I am the author of Success to Die For. I would like to say that I'm also a manga artist, but then I'd be a storyteller. Success to Die For is a book about mental health and women in business. The premise of the book really is to act as a suicide awareness initiative, as well as a motivator to create workplace policies and personal plans to prevent suicide within the entrepreneurial landscape. So it's a long backstory actually. So I have always been involved in the mental health field in some form or fashion. When I was younger, I wanted to be a psychiatrist, and then it formed into wanting to be a guidance counselor. And eventually, after I interned with the Juvenile Justice Commission in their substance abuse program, I ended up in the substance abuse field. And there I just had a long passion for addressing both mental health issues as well as substance use and misuse. And in time, I eventually experienced my own mental health crises and went to therapy, and eventually after that started my own business with a business partner who also experienced a history of mental health issues, both personally and within her family. And somewhere during the time of getting our business initiated, trying to get it started up and bringing on contractors, there was a lot of increasing pressure, which happens with startups. And my business partner experienced a mental health crisis. And unfortunately, it led to her having a suicidal ideation with a plan and an attempt to snuff out her life by dying by suicide. Luckily and thankfully, she did not complete her suicide attempt. And around that time, because of my own history, I was obviously triggered and began to once again experience my own mental health issues, which in turn I saw affecting my business as I was now the sole leader of the business. It made me want to know how many other business women or business people experience mental health issues, and how that affected our business, and what could we do about it. So it was just like a lot of trickle down effect and a lot of questions on human behavior and our reaction to the things that cause mental health issues or mental health disorders, and in some cases what provokes suicide. I would say the one thing that I want readers to walk away with is full confidence in knowing that not only are they not alone, but now there are people who are willing to talk about this and in a public way within the business landscape, within workplace. We are having these conversations specifically about mental health and suicide within the realms of workplace wellness. And I think that's really important for business owners, no matter how big or small the business is, to address. I would really like the biggest takeaway from all of that, because it's like two-part, to be policies, to be policy change regarding how we address mental health issues in the workplace. That would be the biggest takeaway from that. And there's lots of research to back that, starting with the research in my book on how companies can address that, how solopreneurs can address mental health within their workplace wellness policies. So that would be the biggest takeaway that I would hope for. Sure. So my book, Success to Die For, can be found on Amazon. You can get the print version on Amazon as well as an ebook. And you can find the ebook version of the book in multiple online retailers such as Apple, as well as the Barnes & Noble's Nook. That's a really good question. I do now, and I will admit that I have struggled with that title for a really long time. And mind you, I have been writing since I was a little girl. Like, I think I wrote my first story when I was like 9. But I constantly called myself an aspiring writer instead of owning that I'm a writer. And then when I published my very first article in a print magazine, like holding that magazine in my hand with my article in print was like the best day of my life. And that day I was like, I am a writer, I'm a published writer. Like, that's when it started to form in me to finally own that title that I was a writer. And then obviously I had a whole bunch of articles and other things come after that. And when I held my book in my hand for the first time, I felt that I could own the title author as well. So yes, I do consider myself a writer. Do I still have confidence issues about my writing? Absolutely. And I have learned that a lot of writers do. At least the ones who I've talked to, we all share that constant going back and forth, wondering, is this good enough? And reading our own stuff and going, oh my gosh, what was that? So, but at the end of the day, I think that's a part of the process of being a writer. That inner dialogue, that inner agony, that one moment you're really proud and happy, and the next moment you're going, what was this crap? I think that's all a part of being and claiming that you are indeed a writer. Well, I suppose the very first preparation was me talking with a coach. I had a business coach at the time who was also a mentor. And as I was going through the different things that I was going through, I was once again encouraged to just begin writing out the things that mattered to me and the things that were important. And as I began doing that, I thought, I wonder what would happen if I reach out to some colleagues kind of privately and ask them if they would answer a few questions. And so all the questions that were just bottled up in my mind, I wrote them out, and I discovered that they could be very good interview questions, questions that could formulate a book. And so I began reaching out to people that I knew personally in business who had already shared with me that they had history with mental health issues. And then I expanded and I put out a call on social media because I was already active in social media. At that time, I actually ran a social media marketing firm. And so I put out a call for anybody who would be willing to participate in a project that I was working on. And that their responses would be anonymous if they wanted to participate, and I would explain that project further. And once that got started, once people began understanding the project, those who reached out to me, they would then pass it along to colleagues that they knew also experience mental health issues. And then as I began writing the responses, recording the responses, I thought it would be helpful if I had some research to back my theories. And I began looking for some academic research or any kind of research that would stimulate a conversation so that it wouldn't be just biased based off of my own subjective views, but also based off of research. And so I reached out to a professor who had exclusively did research on mental health issues and entrepreneurs, and asked him if I could interview him, which I was able to do via email, and he gave me permission to use his research. And I thought I would also speak to a couple of therapist friends as well to get some of their advice and things that I could add to the book from a psychological view or a social work view, just to make sure that I had multiple points of views for this book, so that it wouldn't just be about what's in Lynette's mind and what's Lynette thinking. So yeah, so I did a lot of that. I did a lot of random surveys on social media. And I also had a network of people who knew I was working on a project, and they would just send me all kinds of articles and everything that they encountered. So a lot of my preparation went into gathering the sources and the research, which is probably why the back of my book with all the sources is so extensive. I just wanted to make sure that I was really thorough in my approach. And as far as the writing process, honestly, I know it probably goes against the grain where you're supposed to just kind of get up and write every day. I did do that, but most of the time, those writings I ended up throwing away. The writing that felt most real, most authentic to me were the ones when I woke up and a thought would pop in my head and I would get up and just write, and it felt as though the pen was writing for me, and it wasn't really me, but something deep within me, a deeper inner wisdom that was writing on my behalf. And those were the pages that stayed versus that habitual just get up and write whether you feel like it or not type of writing. I think self-publishing is a great option for somebody who is ready to write and ready to get their book out there without having to wait around for, trying to pitch and get publishers and from traditional publishing houses and things of that nature. So I would say that when I first did the process, which I didn't have a book coach or anything, I literally did research to figure out how to make it work. The one thing that I was not expecting was the need for different contractors to help me do what needed to be done to get this published in print. So you think easily like, okay, I need a book cover designer or I need an editor. By the way, get a good editor. That is so worth the investment. But what I didn't calculate in my estimates was that I would need somebody who actually formats the book for publishing, and that's something that a traditional publisher would handle. Because you think, okay, I'm just going to type this up in Word and just submit it and voila. No, you actually have to pay for somebody or format it yourself, which I did not have the patience to do, to actually design the interior of your book so that it will fit in the dimensions. And then you also have to look at a lot of small details. Now those are a little bit easier, that you just really wouldn't have to deal with if you had a traditional publishing. The plus side of that is total control, from how big the book is going to be to the type of texture your cover is going to be. All of these things are on you if you're self-publishing. So just be really mindful of that. Yeah, I mean, writers have to write. I do definitely see myself writing another book. I already have several ideas already playing around in my head, and I have a novel that I have started, and we'll see if I end up finishing it. I'm hoping that I will in the very near future. It will be my first attempt at fiction. which will be new for me because I am mostly a nonfiction writer. So besides the book, I do other nonfiction writing, article writing, essays, things of that nature. And I also have a collection of poetry that I've been working on for years, which actually poetry was my first love language in writing. My first writing was poetry. And so one day I'll have the confidence to feel that my poetry is publishable and perhaps the next book will be a collection of poetry and essays, or maybe I'll finish that novel, but I definitely will be writing other things. They will not necessarily be about mental health, and I look forward to seeing what my creative inner dialogue will produce next. So yeah, you can look forward to that, most definitely. It is truly my pleasure to be able to share this with you all. Thank you.